So in this video here, we're going to be looking at operations with fractions. So our learning goal here is that you can identify the keys with adding and subtracting fractions with the same denominator, but also how we're going to use the four operations with fractions: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. We're going to cover all of those in this next part. So there'll be a fair few notes that you'll need to take down. Before we get into it, we'll start with a little reminder or a review of the key parts or the key terminology with fractions. And they are that we understand that there's the different parts of a fraction, so the numerator and the denominator. The way I like to think of it is denominator, D for down, so one number on the bottom, and the numerator on the top. And we're going to move on firstly to how we add and subtract fractions. And the key thing with adding and subtracting fractions, and you'll write down these steps here, is that the denominators have to be the same. So again, remember, the denominator is the number on the bottom. When we are adding or subtracting fractions, we need to make sure the denominator on the bottom is the same. I'll show an example of how we do that. But if the denominators are different, we use the LCM, which is the lowest common multiple. So if you need to revise what a LCM is, look back at previous videos. I'll put a link in this in here that you can access. We use lowest common multiples to help make an equivalent fraction. So basically, we're just finding ways to make the denominator the same in both fractions. Once you've done that, it's just a simple process of adding or subtracting the numerator. Okay, the denominator stays the same. So let's look at a quick examples here. So if we just have this example here, which is 3/8 plus 5/8. Now all we have to do, because the denominators are the same, we just need to apply our addition to the top, so which is 3 plus 5. So all I need to do is just do normal addition, which will give me 8/8, which, as we know, also equals 1. Now on the other side of things, if we've got, again, the same denominator, which is 9, that's the same, then we just do a simple subtraction, so 7 minus 4, so we go 7 minus 4, 9 stays the same, and that will equal 3/9, which again, I'll make sure that I can put into simplest terms, which we always want to do, which is 1/3. So now we want to look at what happens when we don't have the same denominator. So here I have 2/3 plus 1/4 and 3/4 minus 1/6. So the way I need to do this is to find the lowest common multiple. On the side here, I've listed out the multiples of each number. So I've listed out the multiples of 3 in this column, and I've listed out the multiples of 4 in this column. And I've found the lowest common, which is 12. So I've circled that there for both of them. So what you then need to do is multiply both fractions by the same amount. So if they're the third here, so I've got 3, I need to multiply both by 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I times the bottom number by 4, I also have to multiply the top number by 4. So whatever I do to the bottom number, I need to make sure I do to the top number. That will give me a new fraction. So now I have, if I draw it over here, so 2 times 4 equals 8/12. And now I'm going to do the same to this fraction. So I've got my lowest common multiple, which is 12. So I need to, it's 1, 2, 3. So I'm timing both numbers here by 3. That will give me 3 plus 12. Okay, and now I can simply perform my normal addition of fractions. So I add the two numerators together, which in this case will give me 11/12. Now we can do again the same process with subtraction. We just need to make sure that our both denominators are the same. I've listed out my multiples of 4 and 6 here, and again they are both 12. I only need to multiply 6 by 2 and 4 by 3. So I'm going to multiply these by 3 and this side by 2, which will give me my new fraction of 9/12. Let's take away 2/12, and then I just do my normal subtraction there. 9 minus 12 equals 7/12. So it's really a simple process as long as you can make the denominators the same, and then we just simply do our addition and subtraction. So I'm going to move to multiplying fractions now, and there's a slight difference here, but I want to get you to understand the first term here. When we say multiplication, what we mean in this is of. So if we said in this example, instead of the multiplication, we can turn that to the word of, and it starts to make a bit more sense. So if we had a half of times 3/4, we're basically saying half of 3/4. So I've got 3/4 here. What is half of that? And that's what the multiplication that we're going to do. The difference with this one is that the denominators do not need to be the same. Unlike addition and subtraction, the denominators do not need to be the same in multiplication and division of fractions. But all we need to do is just multiply the numerators together and then multiply the denominators together. Really simple process here. But however, make sure that you follow. If there's mixed numerals, you need to convert them to improper fractions first, if that's the case. And also, if possible, you're going to simplify or cancel fractions before multiplying. There's a video that will release that will give you an idea of how to do that. We want to make sure that we're always simplifying our fractions at the end. So what we then simply do, if we have this example here, get rid of that, all we are doing is multiplying the numerators together by the denominators together. So it'll look like 1 times 3 over 2 times 4, which will equal 3 over 8. So simply multiplying the numerators and the denominators. The last one we are now going to look at is how we divide fractions. And again, it may look quite difficult, but again, same process. Denominators do not need to be the same. Key part as well, that mixed numerals must be converted to improper fractions before we can proceed. And all we have to do is to divide a fraction, we multiply by its reciprocal. Now, it's a key term that you're going to need to understand. Reciprocal in here of a fraction is found just by swapping the numerator and the denominator. This is known as inverting the fraction, and we only do that to the second one. A strategy I like to simply use is what we call the keep, change, flip strategy. So the first thing here, so if we use this one as example, the first number we keep the same. So here we've got a half divided by a quarter. We keep the first part of the fraction the same. We change the division symbol to a multiplication symbol, and then we flip the number, we'll make the reciprocal of that by swapping the numerator and denominator of the second number. So if I follow that strategy here, I've got 3/4 divided by a quarter. I'm going to keep 3/4. I'm going to change the division symbol to a multiplication, and I'm going to flip the second number. So now what I have is 3/4 times 4 over 1, and then we just simply do multiplication as we've done before. So now we just multiply the numerators and the denominators together. So I have 3 times 4 over 4 times 1. Okay, that will give me 12 over 4, and then I can just either keep that as is, or I can turn that into a proper fraction, etc., or a mixed number. Now, just in summary, we'll write these key parts down. So when you're adding and subtracting fractions, the denominators need to be the same, and you just simply add this and subtract the numerators. If you're multiplying fractions, all you need to do is multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators together. And if you're dividing fractions, you just need to multiply by its reciprocal, or as we said, the keep, change, flip system, which is nice and easy. And the other thing that I would love for you to understand is that whenever we're doing our answers, particularly with fractions, that we're always writing them in simplest form. And finally, that it is common to write answers involving improper fractions as mixed numerals. Here is a perfect example. I would need to convert that to a mixed numeral, just so we can always make sure that we're writing our answers in the best way possible. Thanks guys, making sure you ask any questions. I understand that was a long one. I'm not asking any questions as we go through, and we'll try and work out them in class. Thanks guys.